You won't believe which legends James Brown never praised, and why he stayed silent until the end. Imagine being so revolutionary, so raw, so untamed, that even praise feels like betrayal. That was James Brown. He wasn't just the Godfather of Soul. He was its battle cry. While the world applauded others, James watched quietly. Not because he lacked love for music or artists, but because to him, soul wasn't a sound, it was survival. And what he saw happening around him, that felt like soul was being sold off piece by piece. We remember him for the fire, the spins, the guttural screams. But behind that force was a man who often felt alone, even among his peers, especially when those peers were crowned queens of soul, funk, or pop. He never shouted about it, no call-outs, no disses. But the silence? That was louder than words. It was a wound, not a feud. And in that silence sat 6 women who the world adored. Yet James kept at a distance. One of them? Tina Turner. Fierce, electric, undeniably powerful. The media loved comparing her to James, the female James Brown. And while that may have seemed like flattery, to him, it wasn't. She danced like fire, yes, but to him, it was fire with a filter. Too smooth, too calculated. She did everything he did, but she made it beautiful. And that stung. Because when he bled on stage, he got slammed. When she burned, she got a standing ovation. They once shared a stage. No words exchanged. Just that gaze. And anyone who's seen James Brown's gaze knows that wasn't nothing. It was a statement. He never said she lacked talent. He just couldn't reconcile that she got away with doing what he was punished for. She made his rebellion look like choreography, and that to him felt like erasure. Then there was Diana Ross. Picture perfect, polished, every note on point. And that's exactly what James couldn't accept. He saw her as too pristine, soul dressed up in Motown ribbons, a kind of singing that sold pain, but never made it too painful. When Diana sang, it was elegant. James wanted it messy. He wanted sweat on the floor, shirt soaked, a scream that couldn't be auto-tuned. Diana? She glided. And to James, that wasn't soul, it was strategy. There's a story. Backstage at the Apollo, early 70s, rain outside. Someone puts on Diana's latest vinyl. James listens. Sweet, airy, too perfect. He simply says, "Some folks sing soul like it's bubblegum." It hit hard. Because to the world, Diana was royalty. But to James, royalty wasn't what soul needed. It needed warriors. Now, let's talk Whitney Houston. Her voice could melt glass. But that perfection? James didn't trust it. Not because she wasn't gifted. She absolutely was. But because she never sounded like she'd lived the songs. He said once, "She sings from her throat, not from her scars." That wasn't shade. That was heartbreak. Because he knew where soul came from. Sleeping in cars, losing family, dodging jail. And he didn't hear that in Whitney. Just beauty. Too much beauty. He remembered her as a child. Her mother sang backup for him. Whitney sat quietly in the studio, full of dreams. But years later, when he saw her as America's sweetheart, he felt disconnected. That little girl was gone, replaced by something crafted, marketed, safe. And when she fell, addiction, media takedowns, James didn't say, "I told you so." He just stayed quiet. Because that silence held every fear he had, that soul had become a product. And then there was Janis Joplin. Oh, how people loved to say she was raw, real, soulful. And yes, she was. But James couldn't accept that kind of praise coming to someone who hadn't lived his reality. She wailed like her heart was breaking. But he didn't believe she carried that pain every day. Janis could step in and out of sorrow. He was sorrow. Raised in poverty, beaten by police, denied by labels. This wasn't a vibe to him. It was life. He didn't hate her. But when people put her name next to Billie Holiday or Aretha, it felt like someone trying on a scarred jacket and calling it fashion. She was talented, yes, But to James, you can't visit pain and expect to be crowned in the same house it was built in. Chaka Khan? Now that one hit close. She had the pipes, the range. She was electric. But when she said she was bringing funk into the future, James just laughed, cold and tired. Don't act like you built the house if you just danced in it. That was it. Not disrespect. Just distance. Because to him, funk wasn't supposed to be cute or trendy. It was forged in darkness, a scream from someone with nothing left to lose. And when it became MTV friendly, James saw a revolution turned into a routine. And finally, Mariah Carey. The Cadillac voice, the chart queen, and the one who, more than anyone else, made James feel like the essence of soul was slipping through polished fingers. Her voice could fly. But he once said, that girl's voice never been on a dirt road. Harsh? Maybe. But it came from a place of grief, because he saw soul turning into packaging. Perfect, palatable, pain-free. Mariah sang heartbreak, but James had lived it. Slept on the streets, lost everything, scratched his way to the mic like it was oxygen. So when he watched her sing Hero, all glammed up, he didn't hear a fighter. He heard a fairy tale. And that, to him, was the true betrayal. Not Mariah herself, but what the industry had become. See, James Brown wasn't against these women. Not really. He admired Aretha, Lynn Collins. He respected grit, rawness, blood in the lyrics. But when soul became clean, neat, and ready for the top 40, that's when he felt it had lost its soul. These 6 women, Tina, Diana, Whitney, Janice, Chaka, Mariah, each brilliant, each powerful. But to James, each one softened something he fought hard to keep rough. And maybe, just maybe, that's what haunted him most. That the very thing he built, sweat by sweat, scream by scream, was now too polished to reflect where it came from. And if you've ever listened to music and thought, something feels different, something's missing, you're not alone. Now tell me, do you think James was just old school? Or was he protecting something real? Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stick around. Because more truths are coming. The kind no one else dares to say out loud.